under your total production cost, I can further split into 3 categories. So just now we mentioned that one of the way to classify cost is based on whether is it fixed or variable. So same thing here. My production cost, I also can call it classified as either fixed production cost or overheads. Variable production overheads and direct costs, or also what we call as prime costs. So again, we classify based on whether is it fixed or variable. Second way to classify based on whether is it production or non-production. But the third way to classify is based on whether is it direct or indirect. So again, first way to classify based on production or non-production. Second way based on whether is it fixed or variable. Third way, is it direct or indirect? What are the things that are production related? So, for example, your machine, the labor that you pay to them to make the product, the materials, all these are production related. What are things that are non-production? It has nothing to do with production, like your office, canteen, rental of the office building, your accounts manager salary. So all these people, they have nothing to do with production. We call it non-production. Next, third category, how do I differentiate between direct and indirect? So direct refers to things that directly relate to the production. For example, your labor, the one that is making the product, or the materials you use to make the product. So they are production related and they are related directly to the product. So based on what you have watched the recording, we determine based on whether is it easily traceable to the product. Whereas overheads refers to indirect costs. When we say overheads, is indirect. For example, your supervisor's salary. The rental of the factory. Is it related to the production? Yes, it's related to the production. But can you trace how much is a supervisor's salary to the product? Can you trace how much is a rental of factory to the product? You can't. So therefore, this is classified as overheads, i.e. indirect costs. Okay, maybe to be specific, supervisor salary and rental of factory, these are fixed costs. So it is fixed production overhead. What are things that are indirect overheads then, even though it's variable? For example, glue that you use in your production. Can you actually measure how much glue you use for one product? It's impossible. So therefore, glue, although it's variable, the more units you make, the more glue you need to use, but it's not easily traceable. So variable production overheads. So because these labor and material are direct, so the more units you make, the more hours of course I have to spend. or the more units I make, the more materials I need to use. So therefore, these two are what we call as variable production costs. Both are variable, both are also production related. So these two are called as variable production costs. All right, now let's look at non-production costs. Same thing, we can classify it into variable, non-production overheads. Why we call overheads? Because obviously it's not production, obviously it's not traceable lah. And also fixed non-production overheads. So again, the second way of classify them. Is it fixed or is it variable? So therefore, your variable production cost and your variable non-production overhead, what's the similarity? Like what you can see here. Both of them are variable. So this is what we call as total variable cost. Both of them are variable. And what's a common thing about your fixed production and fixed non-production overheads? Both of them are fixed. So this is what we describe as total fixed cost. So these are the main classification of costs. Either you classify them based on production or production, fixed or variable, and is it direct or indirect. This chart is very important. You need to make sure you understand and keep it in your heart until the day you don't want to be an accountant. If you have no further questions, let's go to your OneNote Extra C3. So there are about 20, 30, 34 questions. You can discuss if, in case you guys are sitting with each other, but otherwise, do these 34 questions right now. I will discuss every 10 questions. So, the annual cost of supervision in the department is estimated to be 40,000 if the hours worked in the department is less than 32,000 each year. So that means if I draw this on a graph, which is your total cost, as long as you work for lesser than 32,000 hours, the total cost will be 40,000. But if you work between 32 to 50,000 hours, your salary will increase. Because like what we discussed earlier, the more stuff you have, the more responsibility you have. So this company is giving him a raise of 25,000 for 32,000 until 50,000. And if the hours is more than 50,000, it will increase to 80,000. So now what you can see here, this is a step cost. It goes by step. It remains the same until certain level, and then it jumps up. And then remains the same until certain level again, and then it jumps up.